Hey, you up there. Come here. Come here real quick. You want to bench 3 plates? Yeah, of course you do. Get out of here. Get out of here. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what I did to bench three plates. There was a few things in particular that helped me get to that next benchmark, right? We all remember the first time we did 2 plates. And then as soon as you do that the first time, boom. Next thing that's in the sight is 3 plates. Okay, so we're going back to school. We're going back to Frank's School of Muscles. And today's lesson is how to bench 3 plates. Okay, so in today's video, we're going to be covering a few things. Okay, I'm going to be talking about incline bench press, close grip, low rep ranges, the slingshot, using your chest, and bulking. I'm going to talk about exactly how each one of those things, how to manipulate them and work them to your advantage to get to that next benchmark of hitting 3 plates. Okay? So without further ado, we're going to move on to the first thing, which is incline. So incline bench press, I feel like, has been very important for my chesticular development. Okay, you want to pump the old chesticles. I feel like the incline really helped a lot. Okay, so for a while, I just kind of neglected incline. Maybe did it, as an afterthought. But I always started with regular flat bench. And so a couple years ago, maybe 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I started putting incline bench at the beginning to really focus more on developing the entire chest, okay? And really trying to work more of the upper pecs. And I feel like it helped out quite a bit. And I think that strength and just kind of that overall ability and development translated back to regular bench press. And so perhaps it was like a bit of the novelty, like when you haven't, when you don't really train something, and then when you start training it, you start noticing a lot more gains than normal. So perhaps there was a bit of that novelty factor there for the incline bench press. But if you don't train incline, I think incline is a great thing to build up that would help you build up your regular flat press. So we're going to move on to the next thing. Okay, so got your incline press. Next thing you want to work on, my producer Brian, you're fired. My producer's fired. Next thing you want to move on to is close grip bench. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little story. A while ago, I saw this guy at the gym bench press 4 plates, right? And it wasn't a whole lot bigger than me. Yeah, he was pretty good-looking dude, right? Very handsome, very muscular. Not as handsome as me, but he was more muscular. Not as humble as me either. So he was benching 4 plates, and I asked him how to, I was like, man, what do you need to do to hit that 4-plate bench? What do you have to do to get there? And what he told me is that you need to learn how to push with your lats. And I think I figured out what he meant, and it took me a while. And I think that this is because everybody kind of like, when you hear a specific cue for how to work out or how to perform a specific exercise, it kind of hits everyone a little differently. So that's why you might need to hear, from multiple people, a different cue or thing to look out for to hit an exercise a certain way. So what he said was to push with your lats. But what I think I figured out, or what I believe he meant, and what worked for me, is figuring out how to use your lats to leverage your triceps. Now, follow me on this one. Here's what I mean. I spent some time really trying to focus on building up my close grip bench. And what I figured out after a little while is, like, if you're just sitting there and you're just flexing your tricep, I feel like just sitting there, I can't really I can't really put a ton of tension just kind of on my tricep. But before I engage my tricep, if I engage my lat to kind of pull down on the back of my shoulder and lock everything in place and lock in my lat, then suddenly I can get my tricep really tight, right? So like I pull back with the lats, lock in the lats. Now my triceps are tight, and I can just focus on only extending the elbow, only using the triceps, right? So just kind of boom, lock in, and then pressing like that. And I feel like practicing like that not only helped my close grip bench to go up, but it has really helped out my flat press. Because then I started noticing when I would go back to flat press and I'm just doing regular bench press, regular grip, when I start to hit that failure point or that sticking point, I can almost feel like the muscle memory is kind of kicking in, and I feel my lats engaging, and I really feel like my triceps really extra firing to try to get past that sticking point to finish out the rep. And I think that came from, I know that I built that muscle memory and that kind of strength, that little bit of power right there from doing my close grip bench. And when I figured out the whole locking in the lats thing with your triceps, that really helped my close grip too, because previously, before that, I felt like every time I did close grip, it was like front delts and, like a little bit of chest and like barely a little bit of triceps. I really wouldn't feel much of a pump. But it took a really long time of trying to figure out what that guy meant at the gym with pushing with your lats, and I spent a lot of time like trying to figure it out. And it's not just about, like I said, it's not just about pushing with your lats. It's you're locking in your shoulder with your lat, flexing it down, and then boom, get that tricep nice and tight. Just like that. So I think you get it. All right. So that's why I think close grip is really important. On to the next one. Working in low rep ranges. I see this a lot at the gym and I know I did this too. It happens with younger guys. It's okay. I did it too. It's fine. I think a lot of people do it. Normally you work, most people do like somewhere in the ballpark of like 3 sets of 10, right? But then every so often they'll come in and they'll try to do a 1 rep max. I see this all the time. Young guys at my gym, they're normally just like doing sets of 10, and then every so often they'll try to do 2 plates, trying to get that first one. Trying to get that first 2-plate bench. And I'll ask them all the time, do you ever practice in lower rep ranges? And the answer is always no. They only practice it when they're going in to try to do the 1 rep max. So the thing about low rep ranges, boom, back to it. The thing about low rep ranges is I feel like it helped me a lot, specifically working in the 4 to 2 rep range, right? Like I would do a couple weeks of, my bench press for the next couple weeks. When I go in, I'm trying to do the biggest triple I can do, or the biggest double, right? The biggest set of 2, biggest set of 3, maybe a 4, right? So I'll try to do do a set of 2. If it felt good, add a little bit more weight, wait a couple minutes, try to get another 2. Right, so I'm purposely and intentionally working in those low rep ranges to build that area of strength. And that definitely had a huge effect. So that's another thing to try. If your bench is plateaued, give that a shot. Okay, back to it. Next thing, slingshot. Okay, I got a slingshot right here. Okay, and this is not one, I did not purchase this for the video. Okay, this thing is like 7 years old. Mark Bell, if you ever see this video, I would love a new one. That would be great. So I've been using this thing for like 7 years. And I think that this helped me. I got it when my max was like around 250, I think. And I really think it helped me catapult a lot from 250 and even just be more comfortable with 225 in general. So if you have not used a slingshot before, this is like the standard, think of this as like the base model, okay? It's like the standard size for normal weights, and they have different, they have different levels for how heavy you want to go. But if you're trying to, if you're in that 225 to 315 rep range, the red one is probably going to be the one that you want to go with. Essentially, think like this is just ballpark numbers, what the effect it's going to have. In the area of 250, if you could do 250 for one, with this, you could probably do it for 5. You could probably get 5 reps instead of 1. And so if you just think about the way it works, right? Throw that sucker on there. Check this out. We're going to do a little demo, okay? When you're coming down with the bar, the slingshot is obviously taking all the tension out of the bottom. Not all the tension, but it's taking a lot of poundage out of the bottom. Okay, so what it's going to do is one of the things it's going to do is help you get comfortable with a weight that you wouldn't normally be comfortable lifting off the racks. Okay, so if you can only do, if you've never done 250 before and you want to try 250, give it a shot with this. If you've gotten close a couple times, throw one of these on, boom, you could probably get it for 2 reps. Suddenly you start to build that confidence, and now, okay, maybe I can do it. Next week, maybe you do 3. Do it 3 times, and then you work with that eventually enough, you take the slingshot away, and now you're doing the rep all on your own. So, like I said, it takes a bunch of poundage out at the bottom, boom, pull that back, and then, once your elbows get to like just a little bit past 90 degrees, it's all you, right? So the slingshot comes off, and from here up, it's all you, because, there's no tension on the slingshot anymore. Another thing that I really think this helped with is, again, getting past that sticking point of, like, when you push the bar up, you just barely get it off your chest a little bit. And I feel like before I did a lot of slingshot work, a lot of times that bar would come up just a couple inches and it would just like be hitting it like a brick wall, right? Like you just pushing up against a brick wall, and then it would kind of die. And now I feel like now that I've done a lot of slingshot work, I feel like it's a little bit like I have more power and I can grind a lot longer. Like I can stay pushing against that brick wall for a lot longer than I could before. And it's helped me get through and finish out that rep a lot of times. So if you want to pick one up, you don't have one, I'm going to put, yes, I'm doing it. I'm putting a link down in the description with my little referral code. And every purchase is going to go towards a new pair of New Balances for me, so I can mow the lawn. So yeah, if you don't have one and you want to try it, please. And like I said, I'm not just saying that I'm not just slinging random crap to you guys. This is Mark Bell's thing. He's like a famous powerlifter guy. Okay, like I said, I've been using this for like 5 to 7 years. Like, it's a good product. It actually works, and it's like $30 or $40. Okay, if you care about lifting, it's worth the investment. All right. Next slide. Where are we at? Using your chest. Okay, there's really not anything crazy about this, but one thing that I feel like has helped me a lot is actually really focusing on trying to actually work my chest when I'm doing the bench press. Okay, this is as opposed to for years, you get ready, you just want to push the weight up, right? It's a lot of front delts. You're kind of like, when you're pushing the bar up, you're like, you're just recruiting everything you have and everything you can to kind of just get the weight away from you, right? And I think we're kind of all guilty of that for starters. It's another thing I see all the time. I see guys just, and like I said, I'm speaking from experience. I did it too for years. Just doing everything they can to push the bar away, not really working your chest. So when you're bringing that bar down, you really want to be trying to focus, stretching the chest out, and boom, pushing up with your chest. They always say, it's like pin your shoulders back, lock your shoulders back. For me, that was a helpful cue, thinking about locking your shoulders back. But a more effective cue for me to think about is when I'm laying down on the bench. I'm not thinking about really pinning my shoulders back as much as I'm thinking about chest up, right? So I'm thinking about big chest, okay? Big chest, chest up, and naturally, by pulling my chest up like that, it's going to bring your shoulders back, and it's even going to lock in. It's going to lock in your lats a little bit too. Okay, so I'm laying down on the bench. I'm thinking big chest, and I'm already locked in, ready to go. Okay, coming down, good form, bah, crushing it, smashing reps. Okay, so that's what you need to do, or at least give it a try. Okay, if you can't do it now, is it going to hurt anything to try? No. No, it's not. Oh, and you know what? Caveat to this. One thing I kind of want to talk about is if you're kind of newer and you're a bit more on the novice-y side, like within the first couple of years of lifting, there's a good chance that you haven't spent enough time like building like a good mind-muscle connection to really feel like you're using your chest. Like if you're not able to get a pump on your first set, then you probably don't have a good enough mind-muscle connection to like really be working your chest. You should be at the point where on the first set, if you wanted to, you could get a really nice pump in one set. That should be all it takes if you want to. And the way that you get there, if you're not there, is by kind of working in the higher reps for a little bit. Okay, you kind of gotta have some. You gotta put some time under the bar. You gotta have some time under tension. You gotta have some grindy sets, right? You gotta spend some time. You gotta spend time under tension, close to that failure range. If that makes sense. Okay, so like if you're just doing sets of 3 and you're not really, and your chest really isn't trained, you can't flex your chest, you can't really get a chest pump in your first set, and you're trying to do a set of, you're doing sets of 3, you're not like really working your chest that much. So maybe you should back it off and do sets of like 12 to 15 for a while. I guarantee you're going to feel something if you do a 15 rep max, right? That's going to hurt. And then once you kind of built that good, feel good. I can do a nice, good, solid set of 15, good form. It feels good. It got a good pump. Start chipping those reps down, bringing the weight up. Make sense? You can do it. I believe in you. Okay. And the last thing is bulking. Okay? One huge way that the fitness industry has led people astray right now is by telling people that main gaining is a thing. That if you just you'll just get gains over time by just doing whatever. You're just eating whatever. Just eat whatever. It doesn't matter. Just keep doing what you're doing. You'll get gains. And maybe you will, like microscopic ones. But it's nonsense. I'm at the point where I think main gaining is just it's like a complete waste of time. I think that if you're not if you're not dieting and you're not tracking what you're eating, there's like one or two reasons. One reason is, you don't take it that seriously because you don't want to, and you're just kind of doing it as a hobby, and that's fine. That's fine. If you just like working out and stuff, that's cool. Yeah, I did that for years. But if you're really trying to see some changes and you're not eating right, it's because you're not disciplined. And I'm also speaking to my past self, right? So that's why there's been years where I've probably made negative progress because I was undisciplined with eating, drinking a lot, just kind of doing whatever, not paying attention to my calories. It is what it is. It's okay. Live and you learn, right? It took me a lot longer to learn than a lot of people. I'm 35. So it took me forever to figure it out. So now I can tell you, as I figured it out, now hopefully you figured it out earlier than me. So that's the way it goes. But bulking and adding just overall mass is going to have a huge difference. It's going to have just a massive impact. And here's the other thing I want you to think about. This kind of goes back to the whole main gaining situation, right? I want you to think about your maintenance calories, okay? Your maintenance calories do what? They maintain you, right? Maintenance, you maintain. So if you just keep eating whatever you're normally eating, you could say that's like, your maintenance. If you're not really gaining, you're not really losing. You're just eating in your maintenance. If you're pushing heavy weights, you're fatiguing your muscles, but you're eating in your maintenance, you're just maintaining, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think you're going to grow and get bigger and stronger? No. You have to push the weight. You got to push the calories. You got to push the food. And if you want to watch my video on bulking, go and check it out. But you need to push the food. It's going to have such a major impact. Even just getting fat. Like even if you just nasty, dirty bulked it, just ate a pound of peanut butter. Don't do this. But even if you just ate a pound of peanut butter a day and just got so fat, you would probably get really strong. But what you can do is you can get fatter, get some fat, get some strength, and then cut the fat off later. It's just think about this. Do you know any professional bodybuilder who's just gonna main gain? Yeah, bro, just gonna main gain till my next show. No, nobody does that. That's stupid. You want to know why no pros main gain in their off season? Because it doesn't work. It's like, I'm gonna go on a rant, okay? But it's like but science says that. Shut up, okay? Soy detected, opinion rejected. Okay, I don't want to hear about your stupid study with untrained pencil necks. I don't care. I don't even know where I was going with that. I just triggered myself. Anyway, like I said, you got to push the food. It's going to help you get bigger. It'll help you get big and strong, okay? So that's it. That's really all I had. I'm going to put my other video on bulking somewhere. Go check it out.